Thank you. My name's Edison Agbandje. Question and answer session.
And because I deal with words and the meaning of words, I'd like to ask you some questions in relation to the process of how a word's processed.
Okay. Are you speaking about the words within a mind, or generally? Because we have to understand, when we're speaking about words, we're speaking about pictures. You know, when you speak of the hieroglyphs, and when you speak about a hieroglyph, you first have an image. You know, in the olden days, it used to be very simple because you'd have an image, and the image told you what was going on.
What basically I speak about is the basic. Say when you basically first get a word, and you hear the word in your ear, what process takes place.
Okay, you hear the word. Once you hear, because in reality you're not hearing the word, you're hearing the sound. And once you hear the sound, you carry the sound in your mind to see if you have any corresponding sounds that you have a picture attached to that sound. Once you basically, because the reason why you don't understand another language is because you don't recognize the sound. Once you hear the sound and you say, okay, I recognize that sound, it corresponds to this image. Once you have the image and the sound, then you can actually appreciate that you're creating a word. With the sound, you create the word. With the word, you create the picture. With enough words, you can create a whole picture, a whole concept. So therefore, the word is the initiator of the picture, which you create the actual way in which you actually can then judge that process, judge that image, talk to that image. As far as talk about that, ask yourself what's going on before you can then experience that word. Because the whole aim of the thing is to actually create the emotion so you can experience the word that you're actually hearing.
So therefore the word is like, there's a value system in place that gives you like a value and an identification of the sound and the vibration.
That's right.
So a system's already in place that you base this vibration that you get and you match it up with what's already there.
Yes.
So my next question then is, in relation to the words, is that then people get stuck in a sentence because they're stuck in these words that have been given to use. And if that's the only access point or reference point or value system that is in place, then are they actually sentenced by the sentence?
Okay. In that respect, I would say that every word, as we said, creates an image. And every image triggers an emotion within you. So within a sentence, someone can say a word which throws the other person out of balance, because the image they create in correspondence to that actual word is something which shuts them down. So I could mention a word and say slavery, I could say abuse or something like that, and the rest of the sentence the person didn't hear. They heard that one word and literally triggered off into some sort of state based on that word. So as far as words within a sentence is concerned, yes, you can actually put a set of words in a sentence sequence which can shut a person down. When you move into the higher sciences, you realize when you're speaking in your own language that all that's really trying to happen is everything requires a certain sequence of sounds to generate the behavior within it.
What do you mean by when you're speaking in your own language?
When you're speaking in your own language, as a child, you come speaking a language which actually speaks to the external environment. So therefore, within you, you have the capacity unique to you to give the right sounds which create the right effects within your body. All of us have our own original language that when we learn to master that, we can pull more of our internal energy into our external environment. So yes, within your head, you have the answers to every question you've ever asked. It's just that it's stored in a language that your memory can't access. And as your memory can't access that language, as that language, essentially that memory appears to be lost. Once you can speak in your own language, it's a lot easier to be able access to your memories, your past life memories, to other situations around you.
And how do you actually access this ability to speak in your own language?
It's a case of, well, you come to one of the classes, because there's an advanced class where we actually teach you how to do that.
Right.
But the ultimate aim
so this is all in the course.
It's all in the course.
Where it shows you how to get back in tune.
I can't help it. When you ask me a question, I have to answer.
Right.
Yeah, that's just my nature. Essentially, to access that hidden language within you, or that language, you literally need to trust yourself. Yeah, everyone, 9 out of 10 people have had that moment where in certain times, all of a sudden, or whatever bibble babble comes out of their mouth, and they say, "Oh, that's talking gibberish," or they're talking that. But when you understand that that gibberish or whatever is your own self communicating a certain sequence of sounds, you can get to the point where you can control that sequence, control that sound to actually know what you're actually doing. That sound isn't just bibble babble, it's actually a controlled event. You appreciate that anything you've ever said is in description of an image that you've seen in your head. So when you realize that you have the access to describe that thing in a different way, then you can actually start to control certain environments and speak to certain energies in your environment.
How do you get into being able to trust yourself? Because basically the society that we're in is built on the fear that goes into your ear, which goes into your heart. That's why the heart's got air in it. So it's got that attachment into you through the fear factor. So how do you override the fear factor and build the trust element that you're describing?
Well, if you imagine that every fear that you have is a future reality. People don't fear the past, they fear what might happen to them in the future. So if it's a case where they learn to understand how to control their future by choosing their emotions or choosing their actions based on facts and figures, not hope and dreams, because most people live in a dynamic from fear to hope, fear to hope, fear to hope. That is the two momentum that most people live. They're traveling from fear and hoping it won't happen, from fear and hoping it won't happen. So once you understand that the fear is your choice, you can start to control that. You realize that there's nothing you need to fear other than your own creation of it. So you're the one creating fear by judging that situation beyond your control. Someone can say, yes, of course it's beyond my control, of course it's beyond my control. If you don't play, you don't have to be involved in that situation. Step out of the game, step out of their game. If they force you in it, then you realize that this is something else. You're being bullied, you're being kidnapped, you're not in a fair scenario, so it's something totally different.
So is this similar to confidence? Is that the breakdown? What confidence is, or confidence something different to what you're saying?
Again, confidence comes, everything. You'll find that a child will think that they can do anything. I've seen a child and a spider walk to a child and the child walk to it, carry on walking towards the child. And then I see the child a couple of years later and they see that same spider and run. Because all of a sudden, they've been taught to fear that spider. So a child is without fear. People are born without fear. They're told what to fear and they're told how to fear it. So essentially, all of us would have that natural confidence to do whatever we need to do if they want a big program outside showing us that what we should be afraid of and who's the only people that are allowed to do it. So confidence comes when you start to understand that you have been taught to be afraid and the only thing you got to fear, as the old saying is fear itself. Thank you for listening.